People really don't know what a hidden gem Northeast Texas is. It's topographically beautiful. It's very diverse culturally, and even the economics of it now. People really think Texas oil and gas, but our economy brings so much more than that these days. It's a really great place to raise a family, to call home, and really be embraced by a community. I feel like we are a good opportunity for the right person. I think we can be a blessing to them as they can be a blessing to us. I'm very excited.
Hello and welcome to The Clear Voice, brought to you by Clear Career Professionals. I'm your host, James Groom. This is a PositionCast episode where we go beyond the job brochure and give you a real look at the opportunity, the leadership, and the community behind the role. Today we are featuring the city manager position in Marshall, Texas, and I'm joined by the Clear recruiter for this opportunity, retired city manager and Clear vice president, Brad Stafford. Brad, welcome back to the show.
Thanks, James. I'm looking forward to this. I want to introduce Amy Ware. She's the mayor in Marshall, and she's got some really exciting things to talk about. Amy, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on today.
So, Mayor, let's start out a little bit and tell us just kind of a little about what drew you to get into public service and a little about yourself.
Well, I grew up in the county, not in Marshall, Texas. If you're from a small town area, there's a difference between growing up in the big city and the rural area. But I have been back now almost 21 years after completing undergraduate, graduate school, my husband's military service. And we decided to open our practice just right off of downtown Marshall. It really invest in the community, building a practice, a business from scratch, and also building a home from scratch. Our children go to school at Marshall High School. Just really invested in the community, as are so many of our community members. But what drew us here is it is a place that is just welcoming to so many people. They want to see you succeed. My husband's actually from Louisiana. He's not even a native born Texan, although we let him stay. But yes, we're rooted in tradition and have a lot of really strong and warm connections, but also still very welcoming to people who want to come in and really be a part of our community. I just feel like those people are really embraced.
What I think's interesting about you, Mayor, is the fact that you really understand public administration since you have a master's degree in public administration.
Yes, sir. That's my graduate work, and went to the University of Houston for graduate school. I did learn every other spring. We had a great class in our MPA program taught by the gentleman who was the city manager for the city of Houston. I did realize through that class that I personally did not want to be a city manager, although I found it fascinating. And I'm so thankful and continue to be thankful that there are people that is part of their God-given gifts and talents. It's a difficult job. I think it's extremely rewarding. But having that background and then working in government, I worked at HGAC. People in Texas may be very familiar with our COG system in Texas, and then at universities and working in government. So I did have that background while also starting a small business. So I think it gives me an appreciation, certainly, for how hard the job is for public servants, but also the knowledge that it is a service. I feel like we use the talents we are given to serve our community. I'm lucky to be part of a council that I feel like I'm one of seven. I'm just one vote of seven. And that I'm surrounded by people who do the same, whether they are members of our City of Marshall staff or they are volunteers on council. That background is helpful. Our council, we come from different backgrounds. There's ministry, there's education, law, oil and gas. Another member who was in public works for a long time with the City of Houston. We bring that experience together to hopefully just better serve our community.
I was really impressed with the diversity of your city council and the knowledge that they had and the fact that you guys were really on a very similar page for what needs to happen in Marshall, and that's really good. So with that, tell us just a little bit about what makes Marshall such a special place.
Well, I feel like if you have any applicants who are not maybe real familiar with Texas, or even they've just really been in the large cities of Texas, people really don't know what a hidden gem Northeast Texas is. It's topographically beautiful. It's very diverse culturally, and even the economics of it now. People really think Texas oil and gas, but our economy brings so much more than that these days. It's a really great place to raise a family, to call home, and really be embraced by a community. I've lived in Houston. We're 2 hours east of Dallas, via I-20. I love our large cities, but we just offer something unique as those cities get larger and the suburbs become even more dense. You don't have a 5-mile commute that's gonna take you an hour here, that you're gonna be able to be through in a few minutes, and so I think it's some things while we still offer a lot of great job opportunities and opportunities for people to build businesses, it is a slightly slower paced way of life as far as, you're not gonna waste so much time doing things that you don't enjoy as much. We are a young community, meaning demographically, we are shifted a little younger. Our average age is a little younger than average for a lot of cities, particularly for a lot of smaller cities. And I say smaller because I know in Texas, the majority of our incorporated cities are under, I think, 2,000 people, the vast majority. We do have 25,000, so it's not a tiny town, but I still think of that small town feel. Everybody's at the football game on Friday night, school and so football stadiums right in the middle of town. So that size that you still have that ability to grow, but the size that you can really get involved and know everyone.
Yeah, I've really noticed the time I spent there, I noticed that you do still have the small town feel, but it's really neat when you drive around and you see all the stores and the activities that are going on there, and you really have a quaint little downtown. I really love that. Tell us a little bit about why the city of Marshall would be such a great place to work. Talk a little bit about maybe the team and the atmosphere that you have there.
Well, I really think we are at a position where we have had leadership changes in council. Sometimes that can be scary for a lot of people. Change, I realize, can be scary, but I look at change as an opportunity. I'm the longest serving council member at, let's see, just almost 7 years. That is not a long time compared to a lot of cities that people will be on, council 20, 30 years. So we've really got a fresh approach, even though we are a diverse council where it's not like we're full of, I'm not a 20-year-old myself either. A lot of people that bring a lot of different years of experience with them, but just have had enough sort of changeover in mindset. And I don't think that's limited to council. I think that extends throughout the city employees throughout Marshall and also our community that we are attracting people from other, not just other areas of Texas, but other areas of the country as well as many areas of Texas are. And just wanting to see while we are an older city for the state of Texas. If you study how migration into Texas went, Marshall is one of the older cities. But we're just a little north of Nacogdoches. Look at Marshall, Jefferson, Marshall, Nacogdoches, and Galveston on a map. You can kind of see how we're lined up and the migration came through of people coming into the Republic of Texas and ultimately the state of Texas. So we try to keep that tradition and history at our heart, but also being modern and open to change and people. It just presents really some unique circumstances that you're not really going to find in all areas and all towns of Texas because there's so many places you go in Texas that I don't think there's a speck of concrete over 15 years old. And that's not the case. When we redo things downtown, you see it's almost like an archaeological digging up, water lines and drainage lines. You're like, are they going to be made of cypress? Are they going to be made of clay? So it's just an interesting opportunity. And so I love that it's the mix of the old and new. And I think for the right person, like if you like things that are interesting and that history being important, but opportunity for change, I think those stars have just aligned and it would be a great fit for somebody who really appreciates the balance of those two things. Because I think we've got to know where we've been to know where we're going ultimately. I feel like the right person is really gonna appreciate that, and I feel like council is like that as well. We appreciate our traditions and where we've been, but we want I feel like cities, small towns, small cities, maybe particularly in Texas, but I think it's everywhere. If you're not growing, you're dying. Not all growth is good growth. You want it to be well planned, well executed, and you want that growth to be beneficial to the citizens of your area. As we know, not everyone is a good partner coming in doing those things. So, we want to keep those sensitivities in mind.
Thank you, Mayor. That's very interesting. So as I was there and talking to you guys, there are a lot of exciting projects and plans that Marshall has coming up in the near future that the new city manager is going to get to be a part of.
Yes.
Could you just talk a little bit about some of what you guys have going on and some of the plans that you have?
Yes, we are harkening back to what I was talking about having an older city. We, in the 1950s, very early 50s, we really had a state of the art water treatment center built in the middle of the city. It's still a beautiful building to go in and look at and everything, but we have new water needs. And obviously, the nature of industry has changed. The way businesses are looking to be ready for site selection, they want to be ready to go. The dirt work's been done, you've got the infrastructure in place. So, we have an opportunity to not only upgrade and update our current system, but be able to be prepared for growth. We are right where I-20, Highway 80, 59 is becoming I-69, and we have a large loop project coming around the east side of our city. So we are poised for a lot of growth. And anytime there's growth, obviously it can stretch your infrastructure, and water being a large one. So right now we have plans to upgrade our water treatment and wastewater treatment center. We did have to do a rate raise. That's hard to say that very quickly, and it began on January 1st to help support the replacement of some of the much needed infrastructure. I wish we'd spent some decades being more progressive about that, on replacement maintenance. We have some things coming to the end of their useful lifespan. And, luckily we have a lot of institutional knowledge in our public works department with men and women who've worked there for a long time, and having that expertise to help keep that system running as smoothly as possible. But we have those same challenges as a lot of cities. We have the commitment to put money behind it to actually plan so that we can update and grow some too. And that's going to be continuing. We are going to have some transmission lines, that major transmission lines, we're talking 12 to 24, 36-inch lines, that we're going to need some replacement. So I think for the right person, someone who likes new projects, large projects, doing the economics of it, and really, water is the thing that we don't think about it till it's not there. We turn the faucet and the water doesn't come on. Sometimes it's easy to take it for granted when all's going well, but it is so important for our citizens' everyday life. I mean, it's not only health and safety, but our ability, the safety side of firefighters to be able to put out fires very quickly and before we have loss of life or property. Also, just we need clean drinking water, and how that affects people every day. And there are areas of this country that do not have the water supply that we thankfully do have, being right on just downstream from the beautiful Caddo Lake, and which is where we pull most of our water from. And Army Corps of Engineers project, the Lake of the Pines, it's a little northwest of that where secondary supply comes from. So we are very fortunate in that we do have that raw resource, and we want to be good stewards of that. And part of that is modernizing the system so we can really use that well. We also know two large cities in Texas are wanting to pull water from more rural areas. And that is going to be a conversation, and us being a working partner going forward with other regional stakeholders in how do we protect and preserve our groundwater and our surface water, which are two completely different sets of laws and implications. There's a lot in the future of water, and I think it just really puts us in a unique position for growth, and that we're going to be investing not just words, but money into those projects.
So the other thing I heard a lot of was economic development, parks and recreation, building codes, and the unified code. And seems like just a real diverse opportunity for someone who wants to come in there and really touch a little bit of everything.
It is. I've mentioned previously, I think people think of East Texas and, really oil and gas, and that is an important part of our economy. But we have other major employers here. Blue Cross Blue Shield has a large office here. We have some industry and manufacturing from different sectors. Obviously, education and healthcare are large employers in the area as well. Our retail sector has been growing, which is important for, your sales tax growth. We have a new employer and business coming. Academy is going into an existing space we have, one that is owned by our EDC. So we have that. They hope to be open hopefully before the end of the year. I would love for them to be open for the Christmas season. Anyone who's familiar with retail and retail studies that we've been recently doing, sometimes you get some of those key anchor stores and other companies start looking at you when you go to those. we really have the hope that this is going to put us on the radar of even more places because, we go out and do what we can to try to present what an opportunity Marshall is for retail. But, it is ultimately retail, having good retail for your citizens in a drivable, easily accessible distance, is a small part of quality of life. People want to be able to not have to drive to Longview or Shreveport. Not that either one of those towns are exceedingly far away. There are some things that a town of, 100, 300,000 can offer that we can't. They're easy to access those things. Just as, we have people who go to see musicals in downtown Dallas because it's 2 hours away. They'll go and come back in the same day. We're poised well, but we want to be able to offer so much of that in people's backyard. So we hope that would be some attractive projects coming. Talking about building codes, as I harken back to, not all growth is good growth. Having really strong building codes, code enforcement, those things we would really need to move to the next step and really modernizing how we do those things. We don't want to be stuck in the past of we just continue to do something because that's how we've always done it. We've been putting some resources towards it. We would love someone who can help us continue that because I think it's one of those things that people don't really realize that is so important about municipal management and really how it impacts the future. You don't want people, throwing up buildings, whether it's residential, commercial, industrial, that aren't really well built and built for longevity because it does impact people's everyday health and safety. And just honestly, you want things to look nice. You want it to be an attractive place that people drive through. That includes litter. That includes keeping your green spaces clean and making those inviting. One of the large projects we've done over the last few years is we did a $5 million investment in what we call Airport Park. It's by our county airport. Hence the very original name. It's our baseball, softball, t-ball fields with a small park space concession stand. And it had been neglected for a long time. It had been a real showpiece and had lots of tournaments and everything. And now we've gotten back to, I think we had just last year it might be close to 40 tournaments just in 2025 in its first full year open. We had a lot of regional partners coming in, marketed really well. I'm one of those people that I'm out eating at the jalapeno tree and I see a baseball team. I go over and I'm talking to the parents and asking how they like the facility, emphasizing this was our stage one investment. We love the input back to see what we need to keep updating. We would like to add more to that facility. But that's one of those pieces of bringing people in. They're coming in, they're spending the night in your hotels, they're eating in your restaurants, they're going to your Walmart. Soon they'll be going to your academy when, baseball glove breaks or you need more cleats to have that resource there. And that affects the quality of life for we have our recreational leagues for our young people and, very good baseball, softball program at our high school. So that helps us, generate more young athletes. I think keeping kids not only physically active, but involved in team activities is so important for their growth and development and, keeping them active, they and their family active members of the community. So that provides us another opportunity for that too. We also have a municipal golf course. We have a 9-hole golf course. A lot of towns our size do not have one. We've had one for a very long time. We've been doing some investments there. We would like to get, it's used a lot in our community. There is a country club golf course as well on the northeast side of town. This one is pretty central, right off of Highway 80. And so, have a lot of people who are members there. Part of why it's important, we have a really burgeoning youth golf program. There's First Tee at the Piney Woods, and also junior high, JV, and varsity golf teams now. I have a daughter who was part of the first women's varsity golf team in a long time, and they started out with 5 freshman young women and have grown that program immensely in the last 2 years. So it's another thing that also keeps our youth involved, helps prepare them to be higher caliber athletes to maybe get some college scholarship opportunities when they get in college. And also just, a lot of our retirees stay very active through, using the golf course during the week when, other people who are using it during the weekends or, after school hours are not there. Opportunities there. We've invested in our local neighborhood parks too. Some have had major updates. Some have been basically almost completely overhauled over the last 3 years. And, they're nice because so many of them are just in such they're in a walkable neighborhood, a walkable distance for, that children can go there. One of the things we'd like to invest in then is also a couple of them have community centers at the parks. Those are utilized a lot. They're very inexpensive for members of the community to rent for whether it's for a birthday party, a quinceanera, a family reunion. And so they're utilized a lot. And we would like to see that going forward. We have a convention center where we've had a beautiful theater, a typical sort of convention space you convert to different things. It was really state of the art in the 50s, had a big renovation and addition in the 80s. And we'd like to be able to have help really planning, move that forward because how we use spaces, those third spaces and those different types of public spaces has sort of changed as society has changed a little bit and what our needs are. So we'd really like to have a really good plan with how we can best use that space for the community because it's something very important and plan for what we're seeing, how the needs are changing for the future so we can be there to accommodate those.
Very good. A lot of fun things going on for a new city manager to come in and jump in and really immerse themselves.
It's a lot of bread and butter like any city. You've got your infrastructure, your water, your roads. We'd like to see, more sidewalk projects, make it more walkable. Those are essential parts of quality of life, but we also want the quality of life that is kids playing in parks and kids playing baseball and, our seniors having a safe place to go walk and get exercise. That's part of what makes life the fun part of life. This is what makes life sustainable. It is a careful balance. I know it's easy sometimes to be criticized. People feel like city officials are investing too much in one space and not in the other. But we know for well-rounded and healthy people and families, you need both.
James, I'm going to throw it back to you. I know you've got a few questions for her.
Yeah, I definitely do. Mayor, we talked a lot about the technical aspects of the job. There's job brochure requirements, experience and education and things like that. And those things are certainly important. But I'm interested in also knowing what kind of leader would thrive in Marshall.
When people ask me about this position, one of the things that comes to mind is somebody who really wants to be an active and engaged community member. Our community groups, I mean, you will be asked to come to Lions Club, to Rotary Club, to booster clubs to speak, civic church groups. And we as a council really encourage that, building those personal relationships. You want to be liked. It's okay to be out there and be liked. People want to know you. They want to like you as an individual. They want to welcome you and your family. If you have a family as well that would be moving, we want to welcome you as members of the community and have you involved in whatever ways you see fit. You will get a million invitations to everyone's churches, and they're all sincere people, but they really first want to get to know you as a person. And when they feel like your ethics, your morals, your values are in a good place, they extend a lot of trust to you, meaning like, I may not understand this whole plan you have envisioned right now, but I trust you because I know you have the good of the community at heart. I know that may not be for everyone, and there may be some city managers that would rather be in an office or a little more siloed. We really want you to be engaged in the community. And, I think for a lot of people, that really is what brings ultimately job happiness and satisfaction. I know sometimes there can always be criticism. Social media is a different animal sometimes when you're a public official, you're in the public eye, but people really are in your corner. They want you to win. They want you to succeed because honestly, they're going to win and succeed when you do as well. I just prepare everyone. I'm like, you're going to be invited a lot of places. And like I said, we as a council are always like, we love to hear when we run into a Rotary member who's like, oh, the city manager came last week and it was great. Really, really love her or him. We are certainly encouraging. We do the same. We try to do the same things and reach out in the same way.
I think doing this podcast has just been a huge reinforcement on how important relationships are. When we're talking about city government, I just got done talking to a Kiwanis club neighboring to my city about building relationships with,
Yep.
and mine was focused mostly on the police department because that's my world, but local government in general. And that's to carry out their mission, which is about children. And you can't do that without making sure that you have a functional police department and a functional local government as well. I think you're definitely trying to attract the right person.
We have our Citizens Police Academy we've been doing every year. And we have neighborhood associations. We have officers engaging who are specified for different neighborhood associations. It's so important. I would think about going back to my training in public administration was that used to we kind of decided what people needed in different areas of town. And that model's really changed, that you go ask people, what do you need? Because sometimes what you think as an outsider looking in that people really need the most is not what they actually need, but it's not their primary or even secondary thing that they would like to have happen. That's an interesting switch in public administration over the last couple of decades, but so important. And it seems so basic. But part of how we do that is being engaged in the community. I would like to see us be able to have some, sort of those academies and other ways. People, always laugh that they save typically high school curriculum, learning about local, state, and federal government. A lot of that happens like second semester senior year when you're like, ready to you're least paying attention probably to any of your classes, but how important it is understanding local government. And it is confusing because it's different depending on the city you live in. We are a home rule city with a charter that we updated in 2020 that had not been updated for over 100 years. So we are working with a modern document. So everyone will be glad to know that. Being able to be active part of the community and just really be out there and be engaged in that community.
We love when things go right in the city, but if this job wasn't hard, anybody could do it. And sometimes things are not going to go right.
Mm.
Can you explain what the successful candidate can expect when they have to come to council and explain a problem? What are their expectations for how that's going to be handled?
I think first and foremost is, and this is how you should engage with your community too, is getting information out quickly. I mean, obviously you want to verify it. You don't want to, it's always hard to go back and backtrack incorrect information, but just being open and honest. And of course, the evolution of social media, people can access information so quickly now. We can also get information out faster. We have a water issue, which, that's part of upgrading the system, letting people know this area of town doesn't have water. This is when it's expected to be back on. Here's the status of the testing. This is when we expect results from TCEQ. You just need to be really open and honest and get that information out. Yes, you're going to face criticism, but you'd face a lot more criticism withholding information. And you shouldn't as well. As long as it's verified, get it out there. Get it to your council and then immediately to your public. Because obviously we start getting calls kind of immediately when things go out. And so us having that clarity just helps reinforce, and knowing sometimes as a city manager, you just have to make the best decision in the moment with the information you have at the time. And yes, maybe if you had more information that came an hour later, you would have made a different decision. But I'm always standing by a city manager that I feel like did the best they could under the circumstances with the time, with, the information they had at that time. That's the hard part of being a leader, I think. And then you're ultimately having accountability for that as well. It's difficult and sometimes uncomfortable, but that's what makes it a good leader. And also being able to make sure the people in your organization are recognized who've done the work and, have contributed, and that humility that sort of comes with that, being a humble person to make sure those people are recognized as well.
Definitely. Brad, I had a couple questions for you. You had a long city manager career. If you were in the hunt for this opportunity, what would be the biggest selling point to you? What would make you look at this?
Well, I really like the diversity of what they have going on. It really keeps your blood going, for a person that's got some experience, because there's so many things that you can make a positive difference on a community. And this community is really, as at the time I spent there, they are really proud of what they have, and really, they have a beautiful downtown. They have a beautiful city as a whole. Their parks look really great. And I just think that it gives you that opportunity. And the people were so nice. I felt like, just as the guy coming in as a recruiter, I felt like they were just really accepting and excited to see somebody come in that wanted to make a difference. And so I've told some of the other candidates already, I said, this is a really great opportunity for you to come in there and make a positive difference with a great group of city council members, great staff, and just to really see some things happen.
How would candidates, if they were interested in this, how would they find some more information, and how would they apply?
So they can go to clearcareerprofessionals.com, and then we'll have that posted. There's a brochure on there, and they can go through and apply through that process. If they have questions, they can call me. But however, if they want to apply, I prefer that they apply through the apply at clearcareerprofessionalspro.com.
Clearcareerpro.com.
Yeah, I really made that real complicated.
That's all right. We'll put the link in the show notes. And I mean, if that may be the first test, if they can't figure out how to apply, then, they're not going to get the jobs.
Yeah, well, we've already had one that went straight to me, and I was like, hey, did you read the brochure? You're supposed to apply there. Here.
Like getting a syllabus the first day of class.
Yeah. And Brad, one more thing. Can you tell us, for the applicants that are applying, what might be different about a clear recruitment versus some of the other recruitment processes they might have gone through?
So I think the biggest difference that we have is we stay communicating with our applicants as well as our cities. And we really try to make sure that we get that good information out there and we keep those folks informed. We always make sure that they know every step of the process, which is really helpful for the city, but also for the candidate, because so many times you apply for a job and you just sit and wait. And then all of a sudden you hear, oh, they hired somebody. Well, we're not going to do that to you. We're going to keep you informed. We're going to have regular communication with you, and we will make sure that you are always in the middle of the loop whenever we're talking about this job.
They'll get a weekly phone call. And if not, let us know, because we'll call Kevin and figure out why they're not getting their weekly phone call. Is there anything else about this position that we haven't covered that you think the candidates might want to know about?
I just think that there's a really nice opportunity and to work with a good group of folks that are really supportive of their city manager. That was very obvious that they are very supportive of a city manager that comes in there. And as the mayor stated, I got a feeling that they really want someone to really be a part of that community.
And Mayor, before we wrap up, is there anything that we missed that you think is important? Or if not, can you speak to the people listening who are contemplating making a change? Why Marshall?
Yes, well, and I did want to mention this, Brad, and part of the community. We have, per our city charter, a residency requirement for a city manager, that they live inside city limits. Now, they can rent, they can buy. We've had, city managers in the past, sometimes they've bought the house before they've even moved in. For the state of Texas, has some very reasonable real estate costs, whether you purchase or rent. We also have many options in both those categories. Myself, sometimes moving to a new place, you want to rent for 6 months to really figure out, where you'd want to be in town, or kind of what your needs are, what your family's needs are. And so, we are open to those as a community, but there is that residency requirement. Granted, that's probably not a surprise. It kind of goes back to really wanting people to be a member of the community. I just think it's a great opportunity for someone who they want to be able to make a home somewhere. They want to be able to make a life somewhere. And I'm not saying someone has to give us the next 30 years of their life. That would be wonderful if they found that this was the place. But I think this could be a really important phase of anyone's career, an opportunity to really make a difference, to really make a change. I think sometimes some things can feel too bureaucratic and you feel like it's taking forever. Obviously, there's still legal and financial timelines that, we have to adhere to. But I really think somebody could come here and make a difference and feel like, even if you had 5, 10, 20-year career here, you could look back and just be like, wow, I really was a part of getting a lot of things done, and not having an enormous amount of community opposition, because like I said, we are really at a threshold of, we just have so many people, not just in government serving in an elected capacity, but also, in the public, who really want to, they want to see Marshall shine and thrive. And we have a great working relationship here. We are kind of unique that we have 4 institutions of higher learning here. So we have a large Texas State Technical College program here in campus here. They have a residential dorm there, so they even have a partly residential campus. We have a branch of Panola Junior College, which is based in Carthage, Texas, just a little south of here. We have a branch here. We have Wiley University, which is a historical HBCU, and has been here for a long time, is really an integral part of the history of Marshall. And we have East Texas Baptist University as well. their faculty and administration there, as well as at Wiley and the other institutions, are such a key part in our community. The efforts they've made to beautify their own campuses, I feel like we've been good partners with them, giving them some roadways that were technically city roads into campus, being able to give those to them so they could help make their campuses more secure and more walkable for their students and faculty and staff. So we have these great relationships with them. We also have great relationships with the county as well. Our police and fire department works so well with our ESDs and our sheriff's department, and everyone has each other's back. They know at the end of the day, unfortunately, sometimes there's those emergencies and the community really pulls together. It doesn't stop just at city limits or just at, a county line. And I know in some places, some locales, you have a lot of silos and a lot of people butting heads, and that's really not how we are. We also have our great Marshall Independent School District, Marshall ISD campuses, several elementary campuses, an elementary STEM campus, a separate junior high campus, and a large high school campus. It's a small 5A school, so they have lots of opportunities, AP classes, dual enrollment classes. They actually started this year. We have one of their CTE, their career technical education programs, is a firefighter program. So our firefighters, with our chief rainwater, who came about 18 months ago, and he came from the Metroplex, Dallas Metroplex, and is loving it here. But he brings that experience. And so we're helping get young people into a career field and that mentorship before they're even out of high school, and starting some of the EMT paramedic training before. So we are very fortunate that, they have been so open to helping us. They have a whole law track as well. They'll go to our police station. They come, and they'll go through like what forensics is and all these things, because these are great careers in public service that we have right here. That somebody wants to stay in Marshall, they can train here locally and then stay and serve their community. And these are really good jobs with good benefits and that really benefit people. So when I talk about like we're rooted in the past, but we're looking ahead, we're always looking for those opportunities using those 5 educational institutions I talked about, going from preschool all the way through a 4-year degree, how we can be mutually beneficial and not be in those silos, that we're working with our industries and our businesses going, who do y'all need to fill, what jobs you have, who do you need, what training do they need, and how early can we start that training? Like I said, with, starting in high school, dual enrollment, and not just serving city jobs, but those businesses and industries that are in our local area. So not having all those separate silos and really having those meetings where everyone comes together, I feel like it's just so beneficial for our future.
Yeah, that force multiplier, having that community and not just, regular people, but those institutions be able to come in and really create that value. There's several people probably going to listen to this and get excited about that, because not everywhere can you find people willing to chip in. So that sounds like a huge force multiplier for you guys.
It is. And you add our, the work our EDC has done bridging, helping bridge those things, working as a partner with the city so that, and helping get workforce grants from East Texas Workforce, through the state agencies, so that we've been able to get a lot of grants into some of these institutions of higher learning, whether it's at the high school or one of the universities or community college systems, to help get workers trained. So that's so important. And that's so important for building, the future of your community, because a lot of people want to stay, but they need to know there's a good paying job that they can stay for.
You mentioned the ISD there, excellent ratings, and their football team's actually pretty competitive every year. So I'm assuming if there's some candidates with, high school athletes, you definitely encourage them to apply.
Yes, we do. And, and I'll be honest, MISD, my kids have gone to MISD. We'll be up there at the campus later today. My husband and I are in the, all the booster clubs. We got choir, golf, Mavettes, which is our drill team. We're not super sporty people beyond golf in my immediate family, but we do. We have some excellent coaches. The school, about 10 years ago, passed a major bond, and it really took community coming together. And the reason I mention this is because this is really reflective of the community as a whole and the work people. These were volunteers going in together, because as you know, with bonds, you can't campaign for them. You have to educate. So citizens came together to form 501c3 to really do things where they could advocate for this. So we have all either completely new elementary campuses or one, our STEM elementary school took an existing campus and renovated and added on to it and created a STEM program for that you test into for K through 5, built a brand new 6th through 8th grade junior high. And our high school it was state of the art when it was built in 1981. It's kind of a cool building, but they are just coming up on finishing an additional now second bond that was passed a few years ago, where we added on. We had some things that were honestly unsafe at the stadium. I know there's always a lot of criticism about high school football stadiums in Texas, but there's also your press box cannot be falling into the field. There are health and safety considerations with such large structures. So they've done that renovation. We've added on an auxiliary gym. We completely renovated these classrooms that had remained untouched since they were state of the art in 1981. They've actually are having open houses coming up this spring at the end of the semester, so people can come see, where they went to high school. That really speaks to the citizenry saying we are investing in not just the now, but the future of our community. You're planting a tree whose shade you will never sit under, because a lot of these people, their children are grown. Grandchildren could be grown and still willing to invest in the community, and the willingness that the school district, whether it's the administration, the school board, that they put into investing and working with us as a city is really admirable as well. So I do want to tell people we're a city on the rise, but we're also a school district on the rise. So, rising tide raises all boats, and those are all very, very connected. So I am very optimistic about the future. We've learned some hard lessons sometimes from when things don't go right. And sometimes you're just starting where you start, and there's no use casting blame. We've just got to move forward from here. And I feel like a lot of people have taken that attitude, knowing how the education system of an area is an important part of quality of life for somebody who may be looking at this job, but also the opportunities to do your job and be able to really help move a city move forward. Those are both very integral.
Yeah. Mayor, it sounds like you guys have a great opportunity down there. We're going to encourage candidates to reach out. If they've got questions, they can touch base with Brad. I think this will be a great resource for them.
Yeah, no, Brad's been great. He's been a great resource for me as well. So, and keeping us informed of the process. And I love that y'all are doing things like a podcast. Sometimes it makes me feel old because I never would have thought about a podcast is a great way that people can my voice may be annoying and I move my hands too much, but I hope, you can see the love and passion that I have. Reach out with questions. I'd be a face someone would be saying up, but I feel like it's just a great extra tool for people to really get a feel for a place. Cause everyone's wanting to put their best foot forward. I don't mind being honest about our challenges and our areas of growth. I feel like we are a good opportunity for the right person. I think we can be a blessing to them as they can be a blessing to us. I'm very excited.
Mayor, your passion certainly shows through. And I will tell you that your voice sounds great. Everybody hates their voice. And if you start your own podcast and you do 49 episodes, you might almost decide that it's not terrible. That's just personal experience.
I actually hate my voice. And I tell people all the time when I'm interviewed on the news or whatever, I hear it back and I'm like, I don't know how I have any friends because it's so annoying to me personally, but I've been married for almost 29 years, so I guess somebody finds my voice not too annoying. But yes, I don't know how y'all do it. I'm glad you do it, but this is would not be the future career field for me, but I appreciate it.
That's what I said, and somehow I'm here.
Well, yours is great. There's some people that just have I used to say there's people that have a voice for radio, but like now we can segue into podcasts as well.
Yes, definitely. Well, Mayor, we really appreciate you coming on today. And, before we started recording, I did give you a pre-invite. We're going to pray that this goes well and the candidate's excellent for you. So 6 months post-hire, if you guys want to come back on and talk about how everything's going, promote something in Marshall and talk about the process and all those kind of things, you're more than welcome to come back on. You've been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Brad, it's always nice to get to see you and hear from you. To our listeners, we want to say thank you to what you do day in and day out in your communities. If you're interested in this role or any other role, we encourage you to follow Clear Career Professionals on LinkedIn and check out our website at clearcareerpro.com. And if you will please like and subscribe to The Clear Voice, and we will catch you next time.